setback.
I understand what you're saying now.
It makes sense, and I mean, and like I said before, I had mixed whether this thing applies at all anyway. I mean,
Right.
the question is, does it really apply here at all?
All right.
So looking at
I think it adds aesthetics that'll be very pleasing.
Is there anyone that has a formulation on a motion to
I
make?
gotta look and see what we have here. 'Cause there's some stuff we need to adjust.
Usually I'm good at making motions, but since I'm the chair, I won't be making.
No, but the average 15, that would incorporate the wavy design, right?
and
Okay.
I think, as I'm reading it now, I would say the way they submitted it, the 5 feet is sufficient. Because the section of the code that we're stating in the staff report, I'm saying the staff report could be erroneous in assuming that that even applies, so.
If our interpretation is
I'm
that
thinking that you
that parking requirement doesn't.
consider even getting rid of number 3, so.
I'm looking for my sign one.
That's my take, though.
I do think that is probably the more likely interpretation of when this was drafted. I mean, it's the whole subsection B, side of building parking areas. They're talking about parking areas, and I think when they're saying maneuvering, they're saying backing in, like the 3-point turns and whatnot. That's what they're talking about, maneuvering areas.
right.
Not really the driveway. Right, they're not talking.
yeah.
But it does say,
So on your conditions, the sign size would have to be a condition of approval. That's not one that's in here, right? Regarding the signs that are actually on the eave of the
Yeah, that I
canopy.
didn't include that.
So that would have to be like condition 15, if we went with all
Yeah.
of them. But keeping the monument sign frame with regards to...
That would have to be another condition.
That's if we went with their design vice with the...
If you wanted an
Ordinance
additional
says.
frame around the top of the monument sign, then that would have to be another condition.
But that would just be in compliance with our code, though.
Well, the sign that they submitted in their plans doesn't show a frame.
So we'd have to put a condition to be in
Yeah.
compliance?
I would think so.
the sign should be framed on top. It struck me, the obvious solution to me was that base they had was, looked like this, so you could go like that. I don't know. It looked like it. I wasn't too worried about that myself.
Yeah.
but-
Okay.
And as far as the parking, it's just, I mean, I would maybe look at the parking table and see if you could figure some other way to make them have more. I don't know. I just don't see anywhere in the code where it requires more parking than what they've
Right.
proposed.
Okay.
In some of these codes, you can't fit everything into it. And there's always exceptions to the rule, you know. This is one of them.
I want to read this one real quick.
Even though
Condition
it
that
says
for the
only
future.
one, I think common sense would tell us they need more than one.
Yeah.
That we can't force
But I
it.
mean,
We do
if we
have-
want to amend that, I mean, that's our job to amend that. If we think that, for any given, development or site plan, we should require at least more than one, then we should change the code. I mean, that's really not, that's why I said before, it's not really something that I could see on the parking thing that we've got grounds to
Right.
reject that piece, because
Yes.
if it says only one, then.
Here's one number here, and I'll give you a motion.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Fred Meyer Design and Review 12-03 with the following conditions as submitted in the PowerPoint addendum that we went through tonight, with one condition of approval being the applicant shall demolish the existing driveway along Locust Street and replace it with a new curb and sidewalk that matches the existing curb and sidewalk.
You can references in this.
Thank you.
It said he could reference them by using the document and any changes that he proposes.
Condition 2 will stay the same. Condition 3 I like the aesthetics, so I'm going to stick with the average 15 feet on the front lot line. The site, number 4 stays the same, number 5 stays the same, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10, and 11, as well as 12, 13, yes, 14, I will add on at the bottom of that with the same use. And adding on condition 15, that the canopy consign should be approved as submitted in the applicant's submission. I guess that's not a condition of approval, we're just approving that, aren't we? So the 15 would actually be that the monument sign will comply with our city code for monument signs of that sort.
Motion's been made. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion has been seconded by Mr. Savory. Is there any discussion on this particular motion? I would bring up some discussion on this motion. I would like to ask that the motion be amended to also state that it's our interpretation of that the canopy is not a building for purposes of that sign code provision. That we add the and use to staff's proposed findings on page 18 and page 20 on the lighting plan, and that we add for the findings that the that we find that the traffic impact analysis presented by the applicants was more convincing, and that there was what was the question that I had, that that mitigation measures were adequate and feasible as presented by the applicant on the traffic impact analysis. And that would be my motion. The reason I suggest that is so that we can supplement the record and make sure that the reasons for our decision are out there, if those are the reasons, in fact, that we make the decision.
I will concur with that. I will second that. Your addendums to my motion.
Is there any other discussion on that? Is there, maybe we can get a straw poll on this. I was under the sort of thought that when I heard, I forget the gentleman's name, Mr. Holbert's testimony, that he wasn't real thrilled on right in or right out either, or the median. I'm thinking that, do we want to have that right in or right out? I guess it's only potentially required in the future if there's a problem and ODOT requires it. Is that what yours is?
Yeah, I'm saying that I like that being in there only because of, to protect subsequent users down the road, to have that, you know, if this site was sold on to another fueling station, call it whoever it is, Joe's Fueling Station, I would want to protect them to make sure they understood that this was an area of concern for the city and for ODOT at some point, and that that is a possibility, so that their eyes are wide open, and that there's a record that was brought up and discussed.
But also, do we have the right to make that? Because it is ODOT, it's 99. The city does not own that right away. And ODOT's going to make the final decision on it anyway. So it's not necessarily that we need to do that. And ODOT will have the right final say-so anyway on what happens there.
The condition's written to give ODOT the ability to go in and have more ammunition to close an existing not close, but restrict an existing driveway
It just formalizes
in the future.
It formalizes it in a way that's visible to everybody that, hey, this is a condition that could very easily be dropped on you.
It's kind of almost like non-remonstrance agreement kind of a thing, where they give up the right to protest that if ODOT comes in and says, we think you need that.
And those are difficult. They're very difficult in enforcing, but it's better than nothing.
And they didn't, I don't think they protested on that condition the applicants. So, and if it's maybe helpful in the safety and could be helpful in the safety, it's probably something, even if it's somewhat questionable whether we can even do that, it might be good to have in there.
And what was the decision about the setback?
I don't know with what you had.
I didn't apply, that this 15 foot didn't apply at all.
I moved to keep it on there, because I like the aesthetics, but
He was adding
Oh.
a 15-foot
So
requirement.
that's not clear.
Okay, yeah, so we don't have, so,
Discussion about the
Yeah,
findings
discussion.
dealing with that.
yeah,
would be
what was our finding dealing with, did we have, it seemed like we had a straw poll consensus on that this side of building parking areas, the 15-foot requirement didn't apply here, is that,
I don't think it does.
does that fit with
Yeah,
you?
right.
So there's at least 4 on that. You want to drop that out of your thing, or do you want us to rewrite your entire proposal?
I will acquiesce only because I can add. And I will drop condition 3 from my proposal.
So then, I think we
In the
have
interest of time.
an encapsulated, complete motion and second that's been amended by my motion to amend and Sean's second of my motion to amend. Is there any other discussion on that, those findings and findings of fact and interpretations on our code? Okay. All those in favor of the motion as it's been outlined by Sean and it was amended by my motion to amend signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Anyone abstaining? It's 5-0. Passes. So then we will get a amended written findings from Angie next month to doing a final approval on. Unless you would like to pass that to the applicant and have them do it.
Well, we do have, as it reads now, the
Oh, we still are under the
shall.
shall, okay, unless that gets changed next month,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
But
Let's-
we will be reviewing and then with the applicant's attorney
okay.
discuss.
There's a lot of,
When is that next hearing? You said next month, I was just...
oh, I was saying it in shorthand, I don't know if it's officially next month or, well, it's obviously next month because it's not in the next 3 days.
Next planning commission meeting is the 11th. The
What did I do with
11th,
my agenda?
The 11th?
yes.
Does anybody have an extra agenda? Mine got
Right
misplaced.
here.
The 11th of February.
Thank you for all who participated today. Next item is the approval of the minutes, let's go December 10th, 2012 first. Is there any discussion on the December 10th or amendments to the December 10th, 2012 minutes? Not hearing any. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes from December 10th?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes and
Sean,
findings
Charles?
from December 10th, 2012 as submitted.
And I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Anybody abstaining? Two abstentions. Okay. Passed 3-0 to 2 abstentions. The next item is the approval of the minutes of the January 14th, 2013 Planning Commission meeting. Is there any discussion about these? Minutes.
Mr. Chairman, make a nomination, we accept the minutes of January the 14th as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion about the approval of these minutes?
None.
No discussion. All those in favor of approving these minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Is there any abstentions here? No abstentions. Okay. Items of interest from staff.
Let's see, we sent an email out to you about the planner's web,
Yeah, can you tell us more about that one?
and it sets you up. Laney, did we provide them the password?
Actually,
Or-
Planners Web should have sent them all.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
that's right. Planners Web was supposed to send you.
We did get
I
password,
have
yeah.
received mine.
Yeah, I
Okay,
received mine.
that was my question, is whether Planners Web had contacted you
Sure, I got
or not.
Yes.
Because if they have, then they tell you how to go on and log in with your password.
I did go in and log on, and I read part of it, but I didn't have enough time to
Okay.
read the whole thing.
So I guess I just encourage you to at least experiment to make sure that you're able to get on so that we know if you have access to that or not, because we're just experimenting to see how this works. That's really all I have, I guess.
Okay. Anybody on the commission have any items to bring up, topics of discussion? This would be the time if you randomly see something that in the city that you think we should talk about in our code, if you take notes on hearings like the one parking lot, this would be the time in general in meetings to bring it up. If you think, hey, we should consider,
I might make a quick comment on
Changing.
the parking standards. It's a very difficult area because I'm kind of torn on whether you can require more or not, because it seems to me in some aspects that if you wanted to make findings that because of the minimal, because parking standards are minimal requirements, oftentimes the applicants go way above what the minimums are. And because of that, in the past 10 or 15 years, cities have been adopting minimum and maximum parking standards because oftentimes, because of our desire to limit the amount of paved surfacing, because of stormwater runoff that has raised in importance, and now cities are getting fined because of the adverse impacts of increased stormwater runoff. We don't want them to have too much parking either, but you could have made findings that it was going to adversely impact the neighboring residential area or the bus stops that are along, because now you're going to have employees parking where the bus needs to stop at a sign, and that's going to limit their ability to park in front of this on Second Avenue or that kind of thing, depending on how many employees you think they might have and that kind of thing. You know, the safe route is to follow the code. You know, they met the code, they exceeded the code, and that's what you were implying.
That's where I had issues.
But, you know, practically, there may be concern about their employees parking on the street. So it's a difficult thing, and trying to adjust parking standards we have so few standards in our code right now. If you look at the types of land uses listed, there's very few. And so we have to use an ITE parking manual or something like that to find any other standards that are applicable. And when you do that, then you're reaching outside of what's exactly in your code, and planning departments are doing that all the time, because there's been very, very little research. Unlike traffic trip generation, there's very little research and publications out there to use for adequate parking standards. Every community across the nation has copied from another community, but there's been no real good research that's statistically accurate.
I think it's important for you guys, and obviously you're probably aware of this already, but on different things, on something like parking, where it would basically not have much impact to anybody but the owners of the property or something like that. The parking wouldn't be an issue to outsiders as much as something like stormwater runoff or, actual traffic, thoroughfare or lighting standards or something like that. We don't want to, I would say we don't probably want to go looking to increase and require experts for parking manual analysis and that kind of stuff for people when it really only might affect the people that are actually on the property, causing them extra costs and stuff. But if it's something like water runoff or whatever, then, we may incorporate some other standards, and you guys probably do a good job with that, but.
Yeah, but in this instance, though, you're not gonna park on, not Locust, no, it is Locust. You're not gonna park on Locust, you're gonna park on Second. If they're gonna have 4 guys there, there's gonna have 4 different cars, they're gonna park on there, it's already hampering with the bus. Now you're starting to impede on others, depending on, I'm not gonna lie, I'm right there, I'm not sure which kind of houses, I don't know what the parking situation on the street looks like at 5, 6 o'clock at night. I agree with you, you don't want to become over litigious with this stuff, or
Too many experts or
bureaucratic.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be like that, but on the same token, I could see this impacting the parking. I mean, we're already taking the bus stops away now, and we're gonna have to make them move, so now you're taking away parking that's right there, and then you're continuing that on, so what's the further on impact with that? But the code's not written in a way I was digging through that looking for any shred of, to look for other parking requirements that we could throw onto that, and, I was looking for at the discretion of the planning commission line in there, but it wasn't there.
And we're adding a little bit more discretionary wording in the text amendment that you guys forwarded, but it wasn't specifically addressing the parking standard. It was some other areas. It's kind of interesting to note, I was a little concerned about the parking too, but you look at their site plan and there just isn't anywhere they could crowd 2 or 3 more parking spaces and then still meet landscaping or still have, and so it's almost like every single thing you require on the site is almost a deal killer for them. Which is, that's the way it is, if it's important enough. But, all those things enter in and how we evaluate these things too, because, one little request for another parking space on site, they might not be able to meet the landscaping standard or something else.
Cut down on the amount of lanes for fueling or something too, if they really needed to. And they had a lot, though. It's like, wow. Okay, any other items of interest of Planning Commission? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. That's the last item on our agenda.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.